Bernie,
Here.
Neil,
Here.
Courtney's here, Jason,
Here.
Corey.
Here.
Also note that Amanda Engelstead is here and Lisa Heiser, both here. Everybody have a chance to review the agenda. Anybody have any changes or additions to it? If there are none, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
No second.
Right, Corey made the motion, Dean seconds. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right. Did everybody have a chance to review the minutes of the October 1st meeting? And any changes or additions, subtractions to those?
Madam Chairman, under the event plex phasing proposal, we passed a motion last month on budgeting $10,000 for conceptual drawings, and I'm just wondering if we haven't put that in the wrong area, because that would be also part of all the potential improvements down there, is what I think was the intent of the motion. I just want to make sure it's in the right spot so that we have two different paragraphs. One was the 4-H presentation and the other one was Dustin's presentation. And I just want to make sure that I know the funding is coming out of the park, but I just want to make sure we are all on the same page there.
Sure.
Do you want me just to put that in a paragraph of its own?
Sure.
Under
Yeah, I
both
think
or
that might
something?
be-
That'd be
Okay.
fine.
Maybe
That's what I'll
after the eventplex
Yep.
paragraph. Okay. So it'd be I suppose, last two sentences of that. Okay. All right, can make that change. Are there any other changes or notes? All right, then is there a motion to approve the minutes from October 1st, 2024 with the change that Neil proposes to move that annotation to its own paragraph?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, that passes. Bills to approve. Looks like there's about $1,786.25 worth of bills. Anything to call out, Lisa, or anybody else?
Nothing too drastic, just our first time winterizing the facility with the restrooms, and it went really well. It was set up very good for winterization, so thank all those contractors and everybody who had input on that part of it. So we got it winterized and got the process all documented, so anybody can do it in the future.
I assume those are just locked from the time they're
Yes.
winterized to the spring.
Yes, so that nobody accidentally uses those.
Okay. Hides out in there. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I think we
The
can.
cameras and stuff are still working out there though?
Yes,
all the time.
correct. Yeah, we leave the cameras up just because this is the time when we would get vandalized more than
That's what I was
anything
thinking.
without people being there around all the time.
Are the hydrants and stuff winterized out there too?
The Southwest Water is, but the stock pens, they're on the well, so we don't winterize those.
Or frost free?
Yep, we leave those on, which is nice because a lot of people do travel through and stay in the winter.
Those are deep, the hydrants drain out after you
Yeah,
shut
they're
them off anyway.
frost-free, yep.
As long as
Yep.
you don't leave a hose connected.
Yes. And we do check for that because it does happen occasionally, but most people are pretty smart about that.
All right, otherwise I think we can approve the total sum of $1,786.25. Looking for a motion to approve those bills and that total.
I can make that motion to approve the total for the bills for $1,786.25.
Okay, Bertie moves, is there a second?
No second.
Neil, or excuse me, Dean? All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have to,
Aye. Do you have to have a roll call?
Yep, I always forget, okay. Paul?
Aye.
Dean?
Yes.
Bernie?
yes.
Neil?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Jason?
Yes.
Corey?
I was just checking the math there. Yes.
All right. Okay, those approved. moving on then to old business. First thing we have is the Fairgrounds Master Plan layout recommendation and approval.
Okay, so we were asked to come out with the master plan layout and recommendation so that this board could approve a new one. So the, excuse me, the growth and understanding that we've had over the past, well, mostly a year, would include a mix of shared buildings dedicated for some significant use on various entities using it, and then the flow for the fair attendees for this. So that's what this new one will contain. You'll see on Area A will be an expo hall. The expo hall from the fair board standpoint and my standpoint is probably the most important because it brings the 4-H all onto the fairgrounds immediately. So as soon as that's built, their static events could go into the expo hall. Then the livestock stalling barn and show arena, Area B, you'll see that, and then the event arena, Area C, and then Area D is the one that we leveled the hill on, reserved for future growth. So this is the one that was approved in February of 2021. I apologize, I got a little frog in my throat. So this is what we approved in 2021. It did not contain all these other buildings, and so that's why we're going forward trying to figure out what would work best for all the users in the future. This is where we sit right now. This is the current layout. I know it's a little bit hard to see for you guys, but the North Arena is on there. The middle part is where all the electric pedestals are. We've got 5 groups of stalling areas now, which is significantly more useful than what it was in 2018. So you can see here where we've got Area A would be the very bottom part, the orange block, and that's where we're proposing for the expo hall to go. That one, we've got real close water and electricity there. We would have to put in some sort of a septic tank of some sort in that area. I don't think we can go over to the north side of the concessions at this point. Area B is the green one up at the North Arena to put the livestock show barn over there. And then there is room for, there's a grouping of stalling over there, but there is room for if those came out and we could repurpose those and make other barns should they need it for future growth as well. And then Area C would be the events arena, the blue block, and that would just go to the north side of where the restrooms and grandstands are right now. And then that Area D is the one on the hill, the gray box for future growth for whatever else we would determine we need. Any questions or comments on any of that part of it?
Just real quick, not that I'm for or against location A, you know, when we did have this little subcommittee meet, we talked about potentially having the livestock in the exhibit hall a little closer. Can you tell the pros and cons of putting it where you have it currently versus maybe at another site within that other area between B and C, somewhere in there?
The real reason for that, so if you notice to just on the east side of that orange block are 3 skid shacks. Those are offices for, Rough Rider Commission has 2 of those, and then the Fair Association has 1, which is just storage right now. Those we want to go away, and we want to be able to put those, put some offices in this expo hall so that these guys can use it when we have the static events. It'll be usable because of the parking, the extensive parking area that it would be located by. Just the sheer cost savings of having the water and electricity real close, because that's one of the most significant costs when we looked at putting things elsewhere further away. We don't take away any of the parking area by Area C for the events arena for any of the large trailers. Most of the things that happen in the expo hall would be the static events for 4-H, but it would also be anybody who wanted to have a wedding, reunions, any of that. we just felt it would be an easier flow through the facility with everything happening. When the carnival's in town, they go just to the north of that building, and so it would just make a really nice place for people to walk through. We could have multiple things happening at once, and that was one of the questions of sound and different things that, you know, if buildings are together in too close proximity, some of the parking issues and things that would happen. So that was the reason why it was chosen to go there.
Yeah, I think the administrative component, if that's, I think is, you know, I think that's important. And obviously the parking as well, because it's not inexpensive to create parking, so, okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I think the expo hall is not gonna have any livestock showing in it at all, right? It's just
That's not the intent,
concrete,
no.
yeah. So the.
Not that it couldn't if it needed to happen, but
Right. But,
it's
I mean, 'cause-
intended to go into the show barn and the livestock barn. They'll have a show portion of it and where they can tie their livestock in that.
Yeah, and the reason I bring that up is because that, the parking to the, I guess, left on the picture for the expo hall is more, it's not trailer parking, it's just
Correct.
parking for vehicles, and I think those are the type of people that are gonna be trafficking into
Enclosed
the
trailers,
expo barn.
not livestock trailers, correct. Some of your vendor shows and different things that want to go in there, it would be perfect for them. The gun show actually just called me from Minot, and they want to bring 2 gun shows here and have 2 of them here. That would be a perfect place for them because they can control everything right there and have concessions if they want. This building would have a spot for concessions should 4-H or any other entity want to set up for concessions and make some fun dollars, fundraisers.
Okay, I mean, any other discussion on that? Is there a, do you have a proposal or ask, I guess, is what, I don't know,
Well,
the commission wants to
I
do?
just have one comment about Area B. I mean, I think 4-H is generally, they've proposed out there. I get a
Yes, they
little
did. That's why it's there.
Yeah, a little concerned about, you know, how far away it is from everything, honestly, because, I mean, you'll have concessions and the bathrooms. There will not be bathrooms in that facility, I don't believe, but, you know, it's a little bit of a hike, but it's probably works just for the fact that you're gonna need trailer parking. You need to be away from things. Do you plan, I mean, will they be able to park up in Area D for trailers? Would that be an
They could
option?
park there. They could also park to the east. There's quite a bit of parking there. We keep that mode for, we have a lot of people that park up there. Those stall, that group right there could be also moved. We could also leave part of that and have some over on this side and move the building, shift it to that side. There's well water already over by those stalls.
So there's
that's already
ample
there.
water and power up in that neck of the woods?
Yes, and
okay.
the power box is right there in the corner, right by the entrance.
They,
That makes it really less expensive for them.
they won't have bathrooms in
Sorry.
the livestock barn?
Well, I would assume that they're gonna have to have something.
Yeah.
But that could be something that we plan for future. You know, I don't think we'd want them to not have something and have to walk clear over. You know,
Right.
most of them aren't gonna wanna,
They'll have, my vision would be bathrooms and an office and things like that in that barn, right?
I would guess so. That, the layout portion of it, you know, they'll talk about, but I would assume that they would plan for something like that. Cause they'd need something to maybe house
Yeah.
their stuff and maybe some storage and that sort of thing. I know they talked about that
Oh,
before.
gotcha.
So, yeah.
This got all approved by the 4-H and the Fair Board and everything too? Like everybody likes this idea?
Well, the 4-H at the last park board meeting, they proposed having their building in that area where the green is, Area
Yeah.
B. And so that's what they proposed where they wanted to be. So I assume that they would approve of this. I don't know. But that's, this board had asked for that to come forward with some sort of a layout design that we can start moving forward with. Because without this, we can't really go, okay, let's build all these buildings without an actual layout master plan revision.
I think we could just add a little bit for Jason's sake here. at the last meeting, we put a working group together of, of getting a couple people from the 4-H council, a couple people from the Fair Board, and 3 of us commissioners just sat down and had a conversation. And I think out of that meeting, we kind of moved forward with, and it'll be also part of the next item's discussion, that this is probably not everybody approves of everything, but most people approve of most of this, so.
I get a little concerned with the accessibility of that livestock barn. I mean, I know this is where they proposed it, but it's like, just think about the logistics of, how grandma gets there to go watch her little grandson, show his animal. I mean, I imagine that they could come in. Will there be, usually that road, that north road's usually for contestants. That's actually marked for contestants, right?
It is marked for contestants, but anybody can use it.
Yeah.
Most people do use that entrance if they're coming. It's just for rodeos, when they close things off, they make the contestants go there so they're not driving their trailers through all the residential parkers.
I mean, and that north portion of Area D could potentially be improved a touch just for parking potentially for that.
Yeah, the only
right?
thing that we would have to do if they were to come in on that side, they could come in by the main entrance on the south there. They could come in there and make that turn. Otherwise, the turn is too sharp. We'd have to make some sort of a roadway up into that area. And then it's not gravelled or anything. It's just, so that would be,
I mean, you never know.
something that
It
we'd
can be
have to
really
do
rainy and whatnot. I mean,
eventually.
we'd want to probably accommodate some parking surface for that area in the
Yes.
event of bad weather.
I think
mean,
you'd have to,
yeah.
yeah.
How big is that barn? Or what's the dimensions on it?
They were, what were you guys on your livestock barn?
Yeah, I think that
110 by
arena's
200.
bigger than that, so you'd have plenty of
Yeah, there's plenty of room there. for
area
what you
to,
need, but-
to build nice parking for people and, yeah, that'd be awesome right there.
Well, are all the indoor barns gonna have to have some kind of handicap parking situation?
I don't think so.
That would be our,
I'd imagine so.
Yeah, that'll be in the code review, once this is all designed.
and I think the expo hall, from what I read in there, that's we would probably have to add a couple there, but because the handicap parking is to the north there, it would probably work, but we'd want to add a couple of them close to there so that it's not so far for somebody to walk or roll.
Because one side of the barn, you're gonna have to unload your animals and load them back up, and that's kind of gonna be designated on one of the corners for trailers to pull them
Yes,
back
they'll have
in
to
and.
do- Yep, yep.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why we have reached this agreement, because if you cram too many buildings in there, then the trailers have to go somewhere. The trailers are gonna be really far away. At the state fair, I remember when they built that extra lot to the west because they ran out of parking, and all of a sudden, all the livestock people had to park, a million miles away, and it was a shitstorm because people were so mad. They had to walk and carry hay, carry grain for their animals, a half mile every time. So I think that you'll find there's less complaints about having to walk to the expo barn than having to walk to their trailers every time they need something for their animals.
Well, right now they're driving.
So how
the
often,
Bijou Activity
on
Center.
some of these, I mean, people got side-by-sides, right? And the golf carts for shuttling around.
Yeah, we need to pave it so everybody can have a hoverboard.
There you go.
Well, and that's something that,
Watch your Reddit first.
that I've been looking at is,
I'm with you,
what
Brenda.
is the cost for some of these things? Maybe, there's places I go where they rent golf carts out. Maybe that's an income source eventually that we could add to that so they're not having to walk everywhere
They need another
between.
building to store them all.
Maybe. Maybe,
Let's get this done first.
yes.
I guess I'd ask the question of 4-H. Are you good with that location?
Yeah, this is the first time that we've seen
Yeah.
I would just add, like, right now, it'd be porta potties up there, because we don't have any.
Oh,
cost control perspective, we were trying to open to bathrooms and offices. And we don't know the code.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I think the picture makes the distance look further than it actually
Right.
is, right?
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah, well, at least,
an easy
once you're
run.
done with the restroom, it's uphill both ways, but yeah.
You're later then.
Yeah, you definitely want bathrooms over there, like some type of porta potty.
Yeah.
There-
Yeah.
And like Bridget alluded to, our original design is kind of just the shell of the building that's set up as a multi-use show facility that can be used for everything from the 4-H show to a producer's bowl sale in February. We've kind of already mentioned that those bathrooms down there by the grandstand are already winterized, so we'd probably at some point have to look at doing something.
Well, and
They wouldn't
the
have
livestock,
to be winterized. We could leave them, because they are heated.
Okay.
So that, we just winterize them because there's nothing going on out there right now, so there's no
the
point.
livestock barn will have plumbing in it though, right? Because don't you have wash racks and stuff proposed? So I don't know how big of an expense it would be to add.
Depends what they do, yeah. But, I mean,
Courtney,
we
if I,
function.
go ahead.
Yeah, we functioned a long time, or you have functioned a long time out there with porta potties.
Yeah.
Based on the main arena, so we're not reinventing the wheel if for a short period of time, it's porta potties are the, thing, so.
Courtney, if I may comment, one thing where that livestock barn is proposed, it's not very far away from there where there's a manhole for the sewer system. So, I mean, that'd be a septic tank outside, and if you don't plan on putting in now, at least stub in underneath the footing of the building, so
Yeah,
potential. And then while I'm on here, that area A with where the expo hole, I was out there, Dustin and I, and we kind of talked. One thing nice, we got a lot of handicap there. Let's say there was a big event going on, the concessions right there, you could have it open up. There could be vendors inside of that for multiple different things. So it kind of fits in, and we got all the parking, and we got the lighting. So all that real essential things are kind of there.
yeah, I think the connectivity for, septic to, building B, the livestock is easier than the connectivity for the expo hall for septic only. There's power there, there's water there, so I really think it's not a big hurdle to stage that facility.
Awesome. When do we break ground?
Well,
Gotta
just
approve
go-
this
go-
first.
Go raise some money and we'll be good to go. All right. Do we need action on this? I mean,
You guys should
the master
approve.
plan is always subject to change.
It always
anyway.
changes.
It is, but being there was a master plan approved in February of 2021 and it's not this, I would suggest that you guys approve this. We'll throw this out on our website and we'll have, some official, and in the actual written 10-year vision, it says in there that, it's a live document. We constantly change as the needs change, so.
I think it would help to get donor dollars to know that,
Yes, they wanna
we're not
know.
approving something that has been in existence since 2021.
Well, I'd move we approve this version of the master plan until revised.
And
I'll second.
Neil makes the motion and Bernie seconds. Any other discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right,
That was the shortest discussion about that facility ever.
was it?
You're not done.
We're not done yet.
Good thinking, but
All right, moving on to Expo Hall and events arena pricing. Dustin Elkins, as I have you listed as chatting here.
So,
I'm gonna take this, just the internet.
all right, thanks, everybody. So as Neil alluded to, we met after the last park board meeting. Fair Association, we were challenged to go get some numbers. So Brooks Duran with Roars was good enough to kind of sit down with a few of us and kind of lay out what we wanted for buildings and give us a cost estimate on it. I think everybody's got this.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I guess Expo Hall first, which like Lisa said, we kind of feel is the priority so we can get everybody out in one spot, by next year if we can get going, hopefully. So that's a 80 by 150 exhibit hall, would be totally concreted. I don't know if I can go back. And then we were thinking like an overhead door on the east side and then, walk-in doors, offices, bathrooms. We were looking, so that estimate kind of handles most of that. Fire suppression, there was a little debate, I guess, on what we're gonna need there. If we went at the $4 that was originally shown to us in this cost estimate, we'd be about little over 1.4 million with the fire suppression included. I mean, we all know, there's a 10% overage already budgeted in, but that's probably not enough just in reality. So, I mean, we're probably looking at $1.5 million to get this building put up. I don't know if there's anything. Yeah. So, I mean, that they used a building estimator program that they have with one of their vendors. So we kind of feel like these are pretty real numbers. We may need to add a little bit of parking, once we go through a code review or whatever. I would guess we're gonna need a few ADA parking spots, things like that. But for the most part, everything other than a septic system is really close, and it's downhill to the east side of that building, so put in a little drain field isn't gonna take much. And as far as, kind of picking the location, that's really kind of wasted property at this point. It's just a little hill where people go circle their horses and tear the grass up, so wouldn't take much for dirt work and, wouldn't really be in the middle of everything.
So that's what you're saying, the site work and utility earthwork would be just a
Yeah, it
minimal-
wouldn't take a lot. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
hill there that's.
And that would be budgeted in that 1.5, you would think?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, an extra 100,000.
After this 1.3 that you did on the
Yeah.
computer.
Yeah.
Do you know off the top of your head, Lisa had mentioned, correct me if I'm wrong, like so many offices in there. How many square feet of office were you thinking in the 15,000 or in the 12,000, excuse me?
That we did not do any sort of a layout in.
But in his numbers, are there internal,
Walls.
build out?
The walls, no.
Okay.
No. We thought some of that we could do internally, because we do have a few people that have that skill set. So we don't know that. And the other thing that wasn't in this was was it the septic tank?
Septic is not.
That was the only thing. But the mechanical, electrical, and then plumbing to that is all in there
Yeah,
for
I mean,
water.
those numbers seem
It looked good.
very high. I mean,
Oh.
very safe numbers
Okay.
to me,
Good.
We did, I mean, if you take a look at the mechanical and plumbing and electrical, they exceed the cost of what we did the restrooms for, so they should be able to get that done. Okay, thanks.
Neil, that number on that 10,000, is that a hard number for sprinkle? I thought when we built the county shop, we were able to get to 12,000 without sprinkling.
Again, it's based on classification and use. I wouldn't want to, it depends on how the architect designs it. But it would be nice if we could get under that threshold and avoid that. Because with low water pressure out there, he's right. You have to build in a 2-hour reserve unless you go dry. It's costly. It really is.
Would they have to put a tank in underground or something, or?
Well, you got to have, so you either put it in the facility, keep it warm and available, but if 15, I can't imagine how many gallons of water you'd have to be, 15,000, 20,000 gallons of reserve.
I think the August House up there, they had to put it was huge.
Was, the Baker Hughes facility out by the Baylor building has a 400 barrel upright that's the sensor, and it's froze over so many times and flooded that building over the years too.
Yeah, they're nightmares.
Yeah.
Maybe a thing to get it just under that
Yeah.
sprinkler.
That's why you get the code review, get her done.
And I guess the dimensions of the building were somewhat based on the portion of real estate we had there. And then also making sure could have some offices in one end, but still be long enough so the 4-H shooting sports could, have because they need 90 feet to do archery minimum, and then the air rifles all fit inside that. So trying to make sure we could still have offices and have enough room for them to use that facility for that during the winter.
Based on the number of like static exhibits that 4-H in our county do, it's, I assume, still adequate for that, even if we put in offices and,
Yeah, because I think
Eventually
the BAC was 7,000 square feet? Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And
So
that's been plenty big for you guys?
Are you planning for kitchen space?
it works, yep,
Is there kitchen space in this as well?
yep. I mean, kitchenette, I guess you'd, see, kind of avoid some of that code stuff. We're not,
Okay.
Concessions.
concessions,
friendly type.
corner, whatever, yep.
Okay, I'll ask the tough question. If the cost is 1.5, how are we paying for it? How much do you have, right now you've got in your fund, in the building fund, you have seven,
Yeah, we got 108,000 in the Fair Association Building Fund.
and Park has 700 or more than that, right?
Yeah, I think it's close now to 800 and something. I don't have the
Okay.
numbers. I can find out, but yeah, it's right around that 800,000.
That's half.
Does that include the transfer in for this year of the
We
300?
didn't do a transfer in this year.
I thought we had,
The
it's
300.
in the budget
For
for
what?
25, a $300,000 transfer into Park Board Special Project Fund.
No, we did, because when Neil did that, I actually have it here. You guys made a motion on May 9th, was that motion at that meeting, that we had to start building and doing that sort of thing. It wouldn't automatically be transferred in, so
Oh, you're talking the
the
annual.
300,000.
Yeah.
Yep,
So the first budgeted 300, I mean, the motion technically is for an indoor arena, 300,000 a year for 5 years.
Correct.
So if any of that changes, the first 300 would be available on January 1st of 2025, right?
correct.
Which is fine because you're not going to get there anyway, but we would have to amend that, change that, and that's
Right,
an ongoing, or that would be a separate discussion, and
Yeah.
those kind of things.
Why would
But-
you have to change it, Neil?
Because the original motion was for an indoor arena, and this technically wouldn't classify it as an indoor arena.
Oh, so you wouldn't be raising the money for both buildings, and this is a phase 1, phase 2 type deal? You're gonna do the exhibition hall and then the arena?
yes, we're gonna fundraise for both of them right away.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But I
that's
think if we can get the exhibition hall
yes,
rolling would be a plus for 4-H and,
Correct, that's our
It'd
feeling.
be,
That's-
it'd be a
that's the
plus
plan.
for fundraising as well.
yes, it would. Yes, it would.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that motion for the stipulations on those dollars were made in the commission meeting. So that would have to go there for you guys to commission to amend that if we needed that. And we do have an ask here a little bit later, but we wanted to present this part of it and see if everybody had questions and any other things that you think are missing.
Was that motion made for an arena or event center? I guess I can go look back at.
Yeah,
I made the
you made the
motion.
motion. But
That was back in May.
we did add, at the next meeting, we added conditions, yes.
Yes, I remember that.
Yes. So, and it does say, approved funding support towards the construction of an indoor arena.
Okay.
So we would need to update that language if we should need to do that, and probably a couple other things, but.
Well, I think your budget is realistic. I do.
Okay.
I guess when Corey did make that motion, I asked the question, if we get going, is there a chance of pulling that money ahead? So I think that would be one of the asks probably is to pull that ahead, so.
That's later on our agenda.
Yep, okay. That would be that part, but I guess we can move on to any other questions on this building or, okay. So then we are looking at, yep, so the second part of that sheet there is the the indoor arena that would sit on the north side of our main arena currently. We're looking at 18-foot sidewalls, 200 by 300, so this is, you know, smaller than we originally brought forward, but this is just an arena now. It's not, we're not trying to stuff everything under one roof. We're, you know, moving that separately. So, you know, we're gonna put some large bifold doors on the ends, you know, walk-in doors, trying to put it close to the north main arena now so we can utilize the stock pens, utilize the bathrooms, those types of things for, you know, using this event arena all winter long. Trying to make the doors big enough so if somebody wants to have an egg show in there in the winter, those types of things, we can get that equipment in there and try to make it as multi-purpose as we can. So looking at the cost there, you know, we're kind of the same layout, fire suppression's not included in there. If you add that in at $4 a square foot, you know, if we need to add water tanks and all that, of course, that $4 is not gonna be even close, but I mean, we're probably realistically looking at $7 million for this one.
Does that, and is this a shell, or does this include, you know, bleachers, interior concessions, things like that?
This currently would be insulated shell with, you know, working toward everything, you know, put a couple bathrooms, those types, you know,
And is this a concrete floor or dirt floor?
dirt.
And it has a concrete footing around it, so that would be better for heating, I guess. But, and then the utilization, we obviously wouldn't need the stock panels and all of that. We would be able to use the North Arena panels to bring over and line the inside of that with the, for the arena part of it. And then, yes, dirt floor.
But it's, you know, at the expo hall, like we've said, is kind of priority. This is gonna be the next step and as fast as we
Those
can go.
numbers will probably change before we get to that.
Yeah. Once we get the ball rolling, we probably want to keep going. 'Cause
Right,
I
oh,
think-
absolutely.
And to Neil's point, you know, if we show some progress, the fundraising's gonna come a lot easier
Yep.
too.
Yeah, because there is, I mean, obviously space built in. We want to put bleachers and stuff in it
Yeah.
eventually,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
I mean, nobody needs to ride in a 200 by 350.
No, and that's, yeah,
So it's
Chariot
gonna be
races.
smaller. Yeah, maybe.
yeah, we're 100 by 250 arena floor and then have room for everything else around that. Is the thought process there, so. And the 7 million, you know, I would feel we gotta be pretty close there, I think.
What's,
I don't know, as far as building costs, I mean, it just depends on how many extras you start throwing on there. But,
it's like a bag of groceries. It
Yep.
depends what you put in the bag. but,
Yep.
Yeah, I'd want to look at these a little more, but I mean, this is his business, so
Yeah,
he should
exactly.
be realistic with
Yep.
his numbers, so.
and we kinda wanted to shoot high and, you know, I mean, if you add doors and just like you said, everything you add is gonna cost a little more, but we wanna make sure it's functional, but these are, I think, pretty realistic numbers. Probably not gonna
Once
stray too
the
far.
use part comes in, the codes might change as far as doors
Yep.
and where you need them and how many you need and.
Yep. And then, I mean, if there's, you know, throwing out like the mini go-kart racing and things like that, I mean, if they're gonna wanna be in there, then we're gonna have some additional HVAC
Yep.
costs, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So we're gonna have to, you know, take that in consideration too, so.
Yep, the use part.
Yep.
Great.
Like it.
We're closer than we've ever been.
Yeah.
Yep. And I guess I'd like to thank Roars for,
I can't read it
For-
that far away. I was kind of wondering, he came in with
Yeah.
a cowboy hat
we're
on.
closer than we've ever been, it says. So, yeah, and thanks to Roars for putting the estimates together, and then my daughter got to do the pictures, so. I guess, any other questions, or?
Sounds good. Let's break ground.
Shovels in the pickup.
Okay. I got one too.
Okay, thank you. Just be here for more
you.
questions.
Thanks for the work.
All right, any action needed on that item? I don't think so. Let's move on to 4-H livestock building pricing. Bridget?
Hello again. here we are again. Hi. We'll skip past this. So as the Fair Association just presented, kind of skip to the bottom, they're pursuing an exhibit building. So yay, we're in support of that. As long as we have access to it, go for
Absolutely.
it. Get building. So I guess all we have to talk about is the livestock barn. You guys have seen this many times. To add on to the previous conversations just held, we put it, as you can see, we put a lean-to on one side because we didn't know if we were going to have to add bathrooms and all of those other things. So it was designed in a way quickly that you can just put on a lean-to on the other side if you need to do bathrooms or if you have other code requirements or offices or all of the add-ons that once more people get involved come to the surface that need to go, you could put a reflexive kind of lean-to on the other portion of it. So that would be like where it says top view. You could just put that other side. We did meet again, just our small group, and tried to go through this building again. Like, are there things that we would change, or are there things that could be different? Because when we originally did these, it'd be like 45 days ago now. There were a couple cost-saving things that maybe we thought, but again, we don't know. We're just volunteer parents trying to figure this out. So maybe, you know, depending on where you put the wash rack or where Al said these utilities come from, blah, blah, blah. Since we weren't totally sure where that goes, we just had a couple ideas on where that would, where the parts of the building on the inside would fit. Same for livestock drop off. Do you have that on the back side? Do you have that on the front side? So just some kind of layout things. But again, we're just kind of sticking with this same design that you guys have seen many times. The main part of the building is the 80 by 200 and then the add-on on the side. And then you could put the other 30 foot off on the other side. All right. Okay. So good job with your numbers, Dustin. Look very similar to mine. So we're at the 1.3. We did include finishing it off with what we consider to be trade fixtures. So that would be bleachers that we would need, panels that we would need, pens that we would need, that kind of stuff. That's that $250,000 line item that 4-H is aware of that we would need to probably pursue fundraising, purchasing, maintenance of those specific items. So the stuff above that, so I guess the 1.36 minus 250 would be the actual building part based on, again, 45 days ago and without bathrooms or any of those types of things. This would just be for what we were quoted to put in the building, the side lean-to, wash rack, and a bunch of overhead doors so that you could add on to the other side or have airflow or those types of things. Good.
You expect that fire suppression should not be an issue for this building? Is that what? Has there been
We're
any discussion about that?
hoping, we don't know the code, but we're hoping if it's a dirt floor and based on the animal use potentially being the primary.
Occupancy would be. key.
Yeah,
Is the whole,
I wouldn't think you would need it.
is the whole thing dirt floor? Do you have to have some?
we just put
concrete
cement
for wash
in the
racks?
wash rack area.
Okay.
So that was like a 30 by 50 area.
You're proposing like pole steel, is that still kind of the plan? Yeah? Okay.
Questions? You could probably all recite this. You probably have this memorized by now.
Yeah, I mean, your concept has been fairly consistent as far as physical, the physical components of it.
You've seen this slide since February, same exact one.
Do you have is there any way you could get us the dollar page? I know it's that
Sure.
one. I'm old school. I have it.
Yep.
Right. Yep.
The way that achievement days are scheduled, is there any reason to suspect that, you know, if the cow show and the pig show happen to land on the same day, there's not gonna be enough space in there, or is it, I mean, can we fit everything you've got in there at one
We
time?
designed this. Jason knows exactly how many animals could fit in here. I don't know if he remembers, but at one time he knew. But we took the current enrollment, the year-over-year increase, and tried to make sure that we had plenty of tie space for all of what we have, plus where we feel like we're headed, size-wise. And that's, again, kind of the beauty of it being empty on the inside and everything being movable. So if one year we have a whole bunch of goats or sheep or whatever is the next popular thing, that we could flex all of that, because we would have the panels and the pens, and we would know that we have 75 pigs or 5 pigs or whatever, and then be able to set up our space for our days during that. The other part that we have talked about a few times, but never really like totally vetted, would be any of those other potential use. Again, we've just proposed this from 4-H, but there probably are other groups that, like, if the FFA chapter or those types of things are going to use this too, that we'd want to at least show them and say, hey, you know, is this door the best size, or those kind of things. But just some incidental, if you go back to kind of the ag part of the county, you know, our producer's going to have a sale. Are they going to have a sale of show stock? You know, maybe Dustin's going to have a lamb sale, or those types of things, that we have other people that we want and know would use it if they have any feedback. We've just looked at it from 4-H.
Then the question I asked before, but the storage of all your panels, is that gonna be in the wash bay area, or are you gonna do that in the?
Yeah, we think that we can put all of this into that lean-to side, which is like the bottom part of this, so that that main part is open. And again, too, that depends on, you know, what size bleachers we buy, how, you know, those are on skids, what size the door is to get them in, to get them out, to move them to the other side. But
So your bleachers
in
are
the
probably,
weeds
storage
kind
would be in those, in the lean-to also?
yeah, that we could have this totally cleared out, the 80 by 200 part, right? That's the intent.
Get all these buildings, they won't need to clear it out. That's right.
Yeah, just use them.
That's right. Is
Questions?
that insulated? No. Is that in the future possibly, or?
It's I would say an option going down the road. When we kind of put this together, it was designed primarily for July use. So, cost savings measure, we just
Yeah,
didn't include installation.
I got you.
Is there any extra, extraordinary requirements for electricity when you're running like those big fans and blowers, things like that? Is that been factored into pricing, I assume?
As long as they're separate, like separate circuits, that's the best part.
They do use a lot, but it's not insurmountable. It'll be wired differently than most bars. You won't daisy chain outlets together. Kind of deal. So.
So do we approve this and move forward, or
Well,
is that what
you
you're
know,
supposed to do? Is that what they're coming to ask us to do, is to approve it?
Yeah. Jason would like to have the floor, everyone.
Yeah, we probably need to-
if
Yeah,
life was
I mean,
What's the proper map forward here?
Well, I guess that's my thing is what's the ask if there is, and then if there is an ask and if there is public monies involved, is that, I mean, can they do their own thing? Or, but if we contribute monies, if they're asking for money, we give any, whether it's $1 or a whole bunch of dollars, does that change the requirement on the bidding process, all those kind of things? So that would be one of the.
We would see it as we're not asking for money, because we would do our own for the trade fixtures. But if the county wants to build a building, here's what we would recommend you consider, and then go through all of your processes to make sure it,
Okay.
whatever. Yeah, you have to bid it and build it and pay for it, is my understanding. don't know that for sure, but that's what would make sense to me. Right?
So there's two options. We do it or you do it?
I don't think us doing it is a option.
Oh, we
But-
have to do it.
But we're saying we have skin in the game. We know that we need to show up. If you build this building, when we show up, it's gonna be the walls and the floor. And to do what we need to do, we have to come up with the pens and the bleachers and
That would be your
get,
contribution.
yeah,
to
that
this.
would be our contribution, would be probably at least $250,000 worth of stuff.
So we need to raise money for these three projects then.
Well, you intend to raise money for your trade fixtures, right?
We will, yes, we are cool with working on our,
But building the building, we raised
Building
the
the
money
buildings.
for. The 1.3 million, we're,
like 1.1 for the building, based on what numbers we were told, but.
Well, does that kind of segue us into the first item in new business?
Well, I guess the comment I would make on the fundraising, the request is probably gonna have to go to the full county commission, right? The park board, we could make a
Recommendation.
recommendation.
Right.
We could discuss that, but yeah, I mean, if the park board moves forward with the exhibit hall, you know, those dollars will be probably directed in that direction. So, yeah, I think we make a recommendation to the full commission, whatever that is, and then, I guess that's my kind of look at this, how that would happen.
I mean, could part of the process actually be an RFP? Or request for proposals?
We would have to almost,
Yeah.
wouldn't we?
I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
move
if we're
forward.
spending public dollars, this could be they've given us what works, and, you know, that's why we have this $10,000 to get some, you know, some professional design to go bid it, yeah.
Which they've not used. I mean, this has all been on your own thus far.
This is
right?
based on,
Yeah.
Well, and this would be something too that would be assisted in fundraising as well with some of the donors that we do have. So they won't just be left with a $250,000 and no building, so. Because that's the intention, is to include them all in the same fundraising and just build them according to the areas that we.
so basically it's like, hey, this is a overall $10 million project. It's gonna include 3 buildings for the 4-H, the livestock events, as well as the shooting and everything, the exhibits and different things you put in that.
Yeah, we would show our donors different things that we were intending to use it for and let the public see how it would be used. But it wouldn't just be all on the public's back to support these projects out there for them.
Well, there's a question that I have. So
Sure.
if we were to talk about that, I mean, as far as timing, I mean, I'm looking at, it'd be nice to get going, right?
Absolutely.
I don't have any idea where you're at in the fundraising process, and I know full well that takes time. And what we're proposing here. So I think ultimately here, we're gonna need some additional support from the county commission to fund, you know, we've already supported, you know, we've started on the Fair Association side. Now we need to look at this 4-H side for some funding. Cause I'd like to see this, let's pull the trigger and get this thing built so we can move towards a full county fair. I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah.
I think realistically, what they're proposing could be built and in use by August of this year.
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, very
Oh,
easily.
yeah.
And
Very
some of the
easily.
contractors I've talked to said if we bid it early enough,
Yeah.
we probably would likely at least have the show barn ready, the exhibit hall,
Maybe,
yeah.
well, he could drill the posts in frozen ground. The
yeah.
footings and foundation on a red iron building be a little tougher, but could be as soon as frost out. So, the only, and I know we're gonna move into a funds request conversation, but I'm also trying not to make the ask or whatever so big. I think we've had these conversations where, you know, 4-H is part of our DNA. I think the first two buildings should be sought after real hard.
Yep.
The arena, I think, just because of its enormity, I think should be a separate conversation, ongoing but separate. I think we deal with these first two buildings. Originally, that's just my opinion, but I think if we try to do something and try to get, unless your fundraising attitude is different than what I'm envisioning, I would like us to see, let's focus on the first two buildings. So,
Yes, and that's why they are in area A, B, and C in that order, just because it was felt that the expo would get them all in the same area, even if we had to tent them one more year. For the livestock show, we could, but the intention is to not allow that, unless there's construction, obviously, then we would need to make concessions just for this year, but I don't think we'd need to. I think our fundraising will happen quickly. The only question I had was because we know we have to bid these projects, are we bidding them individually? And that's what I'm looking for some guidance on you guys for, if
Yeah.
that's what we think.
I think
we
they
would
have
get
to
it
be, I
better.
think.
I
Okay,
mean, to further this down the road here, I mean, do we go with the idea of let's go out and put an RFP out with this basic, drawing that they have, get that in front of us, let us see that number. If it's, I mean, those are all estimates that you got there.
yes.
We think that they're pretty good, but if you could, get an actual bid for what you're proposing there, and if it's too large, maybe we look at scaling it back some, or maybe it's fine, but.
An actual bid's gonna include a lot more detail than what we have on these.
Yes, the plans and specs would be much
You're gonna have to
detailed.
give a lot more detail as well.
That process,
Well, thinking out loud, in trying not to get into this inevitable delay component, I know that one of the 4-H members on that building committee has just gone through this process, and I think that information and knowledge would be real important. So again, let's see where this goes, but I do think keeping them separate, number one, and then number two, getting the minimum design so that we can get a firm bid, I think would be critical as well. It's easier to get a firm bid on the livestock building than it would be on the static building. I really do think so.
Yep.
Yeah, we would just need an electric layout, I think, on the livestock, because you'd want to drop electricity versus running a bunch of
And
cords and that.
Jason, you know
I think
what
that would
you
make
want
sense.
on that? How many 20 amp outlets and all this good stuff?
We haven't gotten that
Okay.
specific yet.
Okay. Okay, think about that.
So, Paul, do you want the RFP part of it you were talking about? Do you want that?
well,
To
I'm
prepare.
trying to figure out a good solid path forward here for actual achieving something here. If we would go down the RFP route, Jason and that building committee could sit with
It should be designed though.
design
First,
further.
and then, because if you request an RFP and you're a contractor,
Yeah.
what are you?
What do you want?
What are you bidding,
Yeah.
right? So that's why I'm asking if you can get a little more technical on what they need on the electrical side. The building, I think, looks fine. You've got the concrete in there. They can make provisions for future expansion for, restrooms if needed. Those provisions could be there as mentioned. And that would be building only. I mean, everything outside of the building from the, transformer to the building, we can do just like we did the restrooms. We can take care of that and figure that part out because then it's not out in the weeds there.
So you got that like $10,000, the county says, hey, show up and say, this is what we got so far here.
Yeah, maybe the RFP would be for design,
9?
Yes.
Okay.
and that, part of that money has to be also, I would think, allocated for the second building as well, so.
Yep.
I don't know if you go 5 and 5 or whatever, but, let's see where that next step takes us, but I think we could do an RFP for design, I really do.
But do them on individual buildings.
Yeah,
On the two separate, yes.
yeah,
I'd make that motion.
Well, why not 3? Why not do it on all 3 of them?
we've.
No, there's no way we can do
We're
that.
premature on that, and we've already spent a bunch of design money and then push it out, then the design changes, I think. Let's focus on these two right now.
Yeah.
I'm just, I'm
mean-
thinking what design looks like. I think the design on this building could be pretty simple
On the second one, yeah.
on the livestock
Yep.
building. The second one gets a little more critical, obviously, because of all these other things, but, yeah, I'm okay with that.
So Paul, will
Okay,
you
I
restate that motion?
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna
so
say,
I
I sort of heard a motion, but.
Yeah, I did. I'll make a motion to move forward with the design RFP for both buildings.
For
The
building
A and
A and
A and
B.
B.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Bernie seconds. All those, well,
Yeah,
no, it's just a motion, so we don't need a individual, do we? Or
No,
do we?
we better.
We do.
So-
Okay. Corey, did you?
Is
further
there any discussion that can happen real quick? Sure. So that $10,000 that was approved last meeting, do we have to retract that back then?
no, I think we're gonna spend that now, getting to the point, I envision the 10,000 taking us from where we are today to where we have a packet that's ready to bid,
Plan, yes,
Okay.
plan.
Yeah,
unless I'm wrong.
I agree.
That was my same feeling.
And I think the livestock can be designed a lot less expensive. So we probably only need 2,500 for this one and 7,500 for the other one probably, or whatever, so.
With the intent that hopefully, maybe by next meeting, our December meeting, we'd actually have,
Yeah,
would
what's
think
the
so.
minimum,
Fleshed out.
what's the minimum time you need to put out the RFP and get a response?
Is it the same, Amanda, 3 weeks to put an RFP out? I didn't think there was a time frame on an RFP other than what you set in the RFP, but I don't know that for sure. So,
Okay, so if it is less than, let's say it's 2 weeks that you can do it, how do you direct? I mean, you publicly notice it, but, not all contractors read the public notices, so.
well, and I have most of their email addresses, I have websites, we would send it directly to them as much as possible, share it with
Yeah, and they,
4-H
can
and anybody
just
else
make sure
to
that gets
get
out
it to
their
people.
conversation piece as well. Okay, I just want to make sure it's distributed
Yep.
well.
Absolutely.
Social media, is that, I mean, if we
Yep,
put
we
out
have the
something
use
there, there's
of
nothing to
all the
prevent us from doing
pages.
that.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, does
And
anything
then,
need
so
to be
then
amended with the motion?
the concept would be get the RFP and then, next time we meet, have the ability to go out and put it out on bid.
So the RFPs come in, we look at them at the next meeting. After that, we go forward to the planning and.
or actually put it out for bid.
Yeah,
After
well, it's
the
gotta be
RFP.
designed
Yeah.
first, so they
Yeah,
have
the
to have.
design
a-
is first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
All right, does the,
But the RFP is what they're gonna charge us to make the design.
yes.
Yes.
did the motion get amended in that discussion
think so.
somewhere?
Sure.
Okay.
I don't think
If
so.
it did, I'm not gonna restate it. Somebody else is, okay. All right, so, we have a motion and a second, then, Paul,
Aye.
Dean,
Aye.
Bernie,
Aye.
Neil,
Aye.
Courtney votes aye, Jason? Corey?
Aye.
All right, the motion passes. All right, moving on to new business, acceleration of funds request.
So this one, we're just asking for the 1.5 million that you guys had allocated to be considered for, it was committed 300,000 over 5 years. And in order for us to do some of these buildings a little quicker than that, especially the expo hall and livestock barns, we just wanted to see if that would be a consideration by this board to accelerate those funds.
Can we probably table that until after the,
Oh, plus I think that's gotta go to the county commission,
yeah.
don't you think?
You guys made the motion in here,
we-
so that's why I
well-
asked in here.
Recommendation of this
Right.
board to the county commission.
Right.
Needed to happen first probably, but.
Okay. I think they could come bypass this part, but I think there should be a request made
Yeah.
of what that's looking like. I don't know if you've,
What do you think? Well, yeah, what,
yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, my only thought was to get that expo building bid and built as quick as we could so that we could have use for it for next year. That was my thought process on it. Obviously the Fair Board has their funds that they could allocate with that as well.
That's, that's 108, how much?
Yes, 108,000, yep.
And we have in our building fund,
Just on, yeah, say
750.
750, 800,000, somewhere in there.
So we want to request from the park board to the county commission to advance those funds, is that what I'm hearing? Or
I
do you
agree,
want
with-
her
I
to
agree with Corey,
request
it's
it?
premature, I think we need to table this.
Till the next meeting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, moving on, request for proposal for motorsports park lease, starting in 2026.
Would we need a motion to table it or not?
I don't think so.
Up to you guys.
I'll make one, we'll motion to table it.
Okay, motion to table acceleration of funds requests by Corey, is there a second?
I'll second.
15 seconds, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, final item, request for proposals for motorsports park lease for 2026. I think everybody has that.
This was just the request by the board to put a proposal out for the lease of the facility at the Motorsports Park, which includes the Southwest Speedway track and the motocross track. And this basically just says from 26 forward. The motion that was made was the option to have 2025 in there. I do have a few people that are interested in doing it starting in 2026 and working with the current leaser in 2025.
One question I did have, is this just open for nonprofits?
No,
Okay, I mean, you have a nonprofit status here.
Yes,
But
'cause-
we are allowing
anybody.
anybody, okay.
Yep. Most of them end up getting their nonprofit just because it's more beneficial to them from a fundraising standpoint, but they don't.
So you're looking for a motion to submit this?
Yes,
So I'd make that motion to submit the RFP for, sending out for, starting in 2026.
Right, got a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion on that? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, that passes. Looks like our next meeting is December, oh yeah, we're already in November. Okay, December 3rd, 2024, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.